1個前の動画ではオリンピアジャッジのタイラーマニオンがデレックとハディの審査のポイントとか、ここ見てましたよ、こういう風に考えましたよっていうのを挙げたんですけど、今回はそれのアンドリューとサムソンバージョンになります。ただ今回はアンドリュー対サムソンじゃなくて、それぞれを単体で評価するっていう形になってます。こういう公式からの説明はやっぱりファンとしてはただただありがたいだけなんで、ほんまにありがとうタイラーマニオン。
Me, I think this was by far Andrew's best look of his career. I was very, very impressed with what he brought to the stage. This was definitely the most conditioned Andrew has ever been while still keeping a lot of muscle on his frame. Obviously, he was pretty conditioned once before at the Arnold a couple of years ago, but he just lost too much of his muscle and looked a little bit stringy at that show. This was not the case here. For me, Andrew has some very, very strong poses, but also some weaker poses. That is the difference on what put him behind the top two guys. So for Andrew, I think his front double bicep is great. Obviously, his upper body is great in this pose. For the legs, I felt like this was the best that his legs actually look from the front when it comes to separation and detail to the quads, but also actually, in my opinion, the size and the leg width and what the space it took up on stage. I still think he could use just slightly more leg width and size to those quads though from the front to really complete the pose. But front double looked really, really good. His front lat spread, in my opinion, was the best out of the top four. The 3D look and the width and everything that he displays in that front lat spread, the thickness to the chest, the detail, the outer arms and shoulders look great here. And even his legs, they just flow so well, I think, because of how good his upper body looks. So front lat spread, very, very strong. Moving to the side chest, while I think he's hitting the side chest better than he previously did, there still has got to be a way to tinker with this pose to make it look more comfortable for him, and obviously just to make it look more pleasing as well, because his upper body should look very, very dominant in this pose no matter what. Now you get to the lower body, obviously this is where you see he needs more of that size to his legs, he needs more of that density, that thickness. He could use more obviously of that hamstring drop, but overall just density to these side legs as well. That's going to really make this pose stronger. So there's kind of issues with both the upper and the lower body here. That's what makes this a weaker pose, and he's obviously on the right track. He's continuing to improve it. I'm sure they're going to keep figuring out ways to improve it as well, to turn it into a strength. And I think once the upper or the lower body becomes very, very good, it can counteract whatever the weakness is. So the side tricep, it's the same thing here. I think flexibility, if he got a little bit more flexible, can help with his arm placement, how he's reaching back and everything else. Because he's trying to reach back so far, I think it's making his upper body twist in a direction, again, that makes his upper body, it's not displaying everything in the most pleasing manner. So we're not seeing the detail and, throughout his upper body. The midsection doesn't look as good as it could. And because of this twisting, I think, again, it's hard for him to do the leg placement, and he needs more to his legs here as well. So again, his arms are good. So I think this pose and his midsection is really, really good. His abs are great. So I think if he's able to keep figuring out this pose, it can become a strength for sure. I think maybe flexibility is the key part for him here. Going into the back poses, his back double has definitely improved. He was doing a pretty good job of keeping it open the whole entire time. Sometimes he was pinching a little bit throughout the middle of his back. I still feel like he could just use a little bit more of that thickness and density back there, but overall was definitely impressed with how it came up. I just think, again, you just see it's behind those top two guys here. And again, the lower body, this is the first time that he was conditioned throughout his hamstring and his glutes and kept leg size from the back, but you see he just needs more leg width when comparing to all three of the other guys in the top four. He doesn't have that same leg width and that same leg density that they have. The back lat spread, I thought, was one of his most improved poses. He finally opened his back up all the way. He still displayed thickness and depth and detail to it in this back lat spread pose. I was honestly very, very impressed with how his back looked in this pose. Again, what I said for the back double bicep, for the lower body still stands in this pose, but overall I thought very, very impressive and compared very well against Hadi and Samson in this pose. Then we move to the front. Ab and thigh is always one of Andrew's strongest poses. I feel like it's between him and Hadi for the best abdominal and thigh poses probably right now in the pro league. So that's always going to be a strength for him. And then favorite most muscular pose, I think he definitely looks the best where he's doing the crab, where his hands are over top of each other. They're in close. You see the thickness throughout the chest, the size and the peak of his arms, and the detail with the shoulders. His legs as well look good here. So again, Andrew brought a very impressive package, and I think he is on the right track to really challenging anybody, whether it's the two guys that beat him here, whether it's Samson, whether it's a couple of the other guys that place a little bit below. I think he is on the right track where if they can bring this kind of polish and conditioning and add a little bit of tissue in the right places, the sky is the limit for this guy, and I'm super excited to see what happens in 2026. 2026 with him.
はい、すいません、途中で。次、サムソンの解説なんですけど、その前にちょっとだけサムソンのオリンピアの後の補足情報というか、インスタに投稿してたやつがあるんで、ちょっとそれだけ紹介させてください。サムソン、オリンピア終わった後にすぐこの投稿してて、で、これいろいろ書いてあって、4位でも次また戻ってくるよみたいなこと書いてるんですけど、1文目に、時には全てを完璧にこなしても望む結果が得られないことがあるって自分で書いてるから、僕これ最初読んだ時に、サムソンこれコーチ変えるんやと思ったんですよ。サムソンの今のコーチは、マーリーンかなんかいう名前の奥さんで、あんまり情報なくて、その奥さんのインスタ見てても、なんか別にめちゃくちゃ競技やってるとか、なんやったらプロ選手やとか、例えば他のコーチングのクライアントをいっぱい持ってるとか、そういうわけじゃなさそうやし、10年くらい前にこの奥さんが大会で撮ったんかなくらいの写真がちらほらあるぐらいで、ほんまに言っちゃうと、一般のおばちゃん、ごめんなさいね、こんな言い方であれなんですけど、ほんまに見たら、一般のおばちゃんっていう感じなんですよ。この界隈にようおる、めっちゃ放狂してめちゃくちゃウエスト細い、ザ・フィットネスインフルエンサーみたいな感じじゃなくて、ほんまに西洋の主婦のおばちゃんっていう感じなんですよ。で、サムソンが今のこの超トップ層まで上がってこれたんて、結構ここ数年の話で、その時期についとったんはミロスやったんですよ。ただなんか問題あったか、なんか喧嘩別れっぽい感じで契約解消してて、そっから多分この奥さんがずっとやってるという時系列なんですね。で、噂やと、サムソンはもう今、ほぼセルフコーチング状態やとか、奥さんがサムソンを指導できるほど能力あるわけないとか、いっぱい言われてて、なんかただただサムソンが単体で化け物だけなんちゃうかという噂が出てて、この投稿を見たときに、ついにコーチちゃんとした人、ちゃんとしたって言ったらあれやけど、プロみたいな人と契約するんかなと思ってたら、なんとこの動画作ってる最中に次、こんな投稿をしとったんですよ。で、これ簡単に訳すと、先週末、オリンピアで私は127キロぐらいでステージに立った。で、今わずか数日で134まで戻して、ステージレベルのコンディションを維持できている。で、さらに驚くべきことは、私の奥さんが肉体の体作りに関して十分な評価が得られていないことだ。彼女はとんでもなく優秀なコーチでとんでもなく聡明です。こんなことを成し遂げるのは極めて困難なのに、彼女は完璧に体重を戻してくれて、水を溜め込まずにサイズを戻してくれた。そして今、彼女とこのままの勢いで来週末の大会を迎えたいと思っている。回数を重ねるほど彼女は私の体を理解してくれて、知識が驚くほど成長していることに驚く。彼女は天才。そんな彼女が私の味方であることをただただ誇りに思います。これ読んだ時に、ほならまた奥さんとやるんやっていう。来週末の大会は多分プラハプロやったと思うんですよ。プラハプロも結構すごい選手いっぱい出るんですけど、正直この後のタイラーマニオンの解説でもあるんですけど、今回のオリンピアのサムソンはもう完全に調整密で、正直ただのこの一ファンとしては、また奥さんとやんねやっていう感じではあるんですけど、僕はとにかく見守るしかないんで、見守ります。ということで、翻訳どうぞ。
Next up in fourth place, we had Samson. For me, basically, it looks like what happened with Samson is he tried to come in more conditioned like we wanted to see from him, but his condition, you could tell his skin was definitely thinner than it used to be. But while doing this, the separation and detail that I'm sure a lot of people were thinking were going to be brought out wasn't really brought out. And in doing this, he sacrificed a lot of his size, and especially in his back and in his legs. The back, I guess, would make a little bit more sense because we know that's always his one body part that he needs to continue to work on improving. But his legs have always been a very, very big strength of his. I think it was very surprising to see that he just lost that volume and that density to his legs. You could see it from all angles, whether it was from the front, you just didn't see that same outer sweep and that same leg width across his legs from the front. You saw from the side, his legs didn't look quite as big as well. And then from the back again, when you're missing that sweep, it just takes a little bit away from that width. So I guess really for him, while they're figuring out his body, he finally brought in and tried to bring in that really crisp conditioning look, but it just seems like he had to over diet and lose too much of his muscle. So I really think for him, this can be more of a one-off show. They try to do that, so probably they're going to go back to the formula that had him in those top spots the past 2 years. Maybe there's a way for him to basically get back to that volume that he had when he won the Olympia last year, that conditioning that he had when he won the Olympia. If it's possible for him to just take that maybe a touch further, that would probably be his best overall look, but he definitely cannot sacrifice that fullness and roundness because everybody was probably thinking that he could come in better condition and keep that fullness and roundness, and that was what's going to make him so hard to handle and so deadly. So yeah, really for him, I just think they tried to bring the condition and lost the muscle, and that explains why he ended up in fourth here. He just didn't have enough next to all three of the guys ahead of him in too many of the poses, but nothing I think really to get discouraged about. I think he can rebound very quickly from this, and I think 2026 still looks as bright as ever for him.